You are joining Making a Difference with Melissa Clark, a new show that shares the compelling stories and voices of well-known and everyday people who change the world in big and small ways. Enjoy our guests, call in, or just listen to be inspired. For this show was made with you in mind. Please join us every Saturday at 2 p.m. Eastern Standard Time with our special guests. And you can listen to our recast at www.melissaclarkshow.com.
Hi, thank you for joining us. I'm Melissa Billy Clark. On this episode of Making a Difference, we wanted to bring awareness to obesity and what a person who is overweight can do to help themselves make change. We sat down with Mike Flanagan, an insurance employee by day and rock star by night, to discuss his journey with vertical sleeve gastrectomy. We also invited the director of bariatric surgery for Care New England and the surgeon who would help change his life, Dr. Janine Giovanni. Take a look.
Why do I play music? It's a passion. It's something I think that you're born with.
I started playing guitar when I was 8, and I can't stop.
It's a passion. I mean, it's something you have to do.
Mike, I am so excited to have you on this show. You and I used to work together at Metropolitan Life Insurance, and you're actually still employed there. So how long have you been there for?
It's 20 years. September was 20 years.
Yeah. Wow. It was one of my favorite jobs. And you and I, we always used to go out and smoke cigarettes together. And now your whole life has changed. Exactly. I can't believe I am looking at the man sitting here right now. You look so amazing. I can't wait to get into this. You are going to be featured in Preferred Health magazine. So that's why I have you on the show. And we're going to try to help people who are struggling with their weight. So tell us, what was your heaviest when you were told that enough is enough?
I don't know if I can tie the number to when I was told or when I felt enough is enough, but the heaviest that I can at least recall getting on a scale and seeing a number was 368 pounds.
Wow.
And that was probably a couple years ago in 2018, about that time, early 2018, maybe late 2017, about then. Yeah.
Oh, so 2018, you were at that weight. When did you have your surgery?
February 3rd of 2020, right before COVID. Vertical sleeve gastrectomy.
Gastrectomy. Thank you so much.
Yeah.
And tell us what is that? What do they do with that procedure?
Well, essentially, there are a couple different weight loss surgeries you can undergo. One of them is which is most common, and people always say this, is a bypass, right?
Right.
But what they do there is they bypass your stomach entirely and take out some of your small intestine. I didn't opt for that. I went a different route with the gastrectomy, vertical sleeve, and it's essentially, just to simplify it, they removed about 80% of my stomach.
Whoa.
Yeah. And the surgery itself, it was told to me that there could be some complication during or even some complications arising right afterwards, in which I might have to go back in and have a full bypass done. I didn't want to do the full bypass because some of the side effects they talked about, for instance, dumping syndrome.
What is that, Mike?
Dumping syndrome. How am I going to explain it? It's there are certain things you can get violently ill very quickly and have diarrhea and so forth and vomiting.
Okay.
With certain foods that you try and eat. You also have the sticking syndrome, which are, breads and so forth are now very difficult to get down. I wanted to try and opt for the less, not invasive, but less, because they're not invasive surgeries, believe it or not. I wanted to opt for the lesser risk initially and see how we went with that. And, knock on wood, it's been phenomenal. It's been fantastic. My surgeon was just incredible.
Wow. And how long does that take, that surgery?
Just a few hours it took. I was in the hospital for a total, because they want to observe you a little bit afterwards. I think I went home the second day. You have to be able to consume a certain amount of liquid before they will release you. Yeah. Yep.
What was your thought process going into your surgery? And do you remember the conversations that you had with your family?
Oh, yeah. Yeah, I do. I went through this process in 2 stages. I call the first one my chicken out stage, which was in about late. There is a process you have to go through. You have to visit a nutritionist a certain number of times. You have to visit with a psychologist to make sure that you're in the right mental state. And of course, you have to have an endoscopy to make sure your physiology, those sorts of things. So there were a lot of steps you have to go through to do it. And back in 2016, or late 2016 and into 2017, I started this process. I was concerned. My sister had passed away from weight-related issues. My father had passed away very young, about 10 years ago, with many health complications due to, obesity, not taking care of himself and so forth. So it was time for me to do that. After going through that lengthy process, for some reason at the end of it, alcohol plays a part in this, and just general fear of the entire process. Just actually going through with it and not being able to live the lifestyle that I was living caused me to put the brakes on it and say, I want to give this one more try on my own. And that was in maybe late 2017, early 2018 is when I put the brakes on. So it's a couple of years before I actually did it that I went through the entire process. Same surgeon, same everything. I'm also a performer, as you know.
Yes.
I was very concerned how changes like that would affect my ability to perform, my ability to sing. I had never performed without drinking before in my entire life. In 30 years, I'd never done that. And it was a scary proposition for me. I didn't know that I would be able to continue to do it. So that's why I put the brakes on. I did lose weight. I said, this is it. I'm going to do it on my own. I can do this. I'm going to take care of it. We're good. My wife was a little less so. She said, sure, you went through all this already. I said, yeah, I can definitely do it. I lost 40 pounds, sorry. And I gained back 50 very quickly. So
how did you lose the 40 pounds on your own? And were you smoking at the time as well? Because you were a smoker.
I had quit smoking. And so I had gained weight with the quitting of smoking. I quit smoking April 2nd, 2018. I remember the day. And after all that, I started smoking when I was 14 years old. So
can we tell your age now?
Oh yeah, of course.
You look fantastic.
Yeah,
52?
Thank you. Yes, I'm 52 now.
Yeah.
So I think it was, so it would have been when I was 49, turning 50 is when I quit smoking for good, entirely, threw them away.
How did you quit smoking?
That's the way to do it. Everything I tried prior to that, I tried nicotine patches. I tried, the only thing I didn't try was hypnosis. I didn't feel like that would be effective for me. Maybe I probably should have had more of an open mind. Maybe, I don't know. The only thing that worked was just throwing them away, because I had quit smoking numerous times in my life and never was it able to stick. I also, to satisfy the hand to mouth thing that you're constantly do, if you've done that your entire life, it's hard to get rid of that. So I switched to a vape that has no nicotine in it. It's basically water vapor. That gives you that sensation, and I do that. I even still do it now, not nearly as much as I smoked. But those things, just throwing them away and having something in place of it. You know, a lot of people say, get a carrot stick, or, you know, get a something, a piece of wood, and just, you know, so you have that. Breaking habits are very difficult. So
yeah,
that's the first thing. That's the first thing I did before that. I did quit smoking, but I wasn't ready for the weight loss. I wasn't ready to quit drinking. I wasn't ready to change my lifestyle in those ways. And you know, so I put a 2-year delay on it. It's okay. I wouldn't change anything now. I wouldn't change it at all, because it's worked out perfectly now. So I got probably a year and a half after, you know, putting the pause on it. My primary care physician, who's phenomenal, I love him. I've had him for 20 years since I moved back to Rhode Island.
right.
Just a great advocate, wonderful man. He said, look, you know, given your family history, all the things your father went through, all the things we talk about entirely, you've gained more weight, Mike. This is the heaviest I've ever seen you. You've got some problems. You've got some issues. We need to address these. You know, you're going to die, is what he said. And you're way too young for this. So I agree with that. I don't want to die in my 90s, you know.
Right.
Who does? But
And your weight at that time was what did you say, 384?
no, not. I never got that high, or I don't know. The heaviest I got, which was around that time, was 368 pounds.
368.
Yeah. Yep. And for reference, also, I'm shrinking a little bit in my older age, but I'm a little bit more than 6'1" now, and having always been kind of 6'2", you know, since I stopped growing in height when I was a teenager. So, yeah.
You've
So
always been a big guy to me. You're so tall,
yeah.
and you were so big, and
Yeah.
so seeing you like this is amazing. Did you have an addiction with food?
Absolutely. Oh, there's no question about it. I should say that I have a fairly addictive personality anyway. I usually, and that doesn't mean for, you know, all bad things, you know, but if I have my mind set on doing something, I usually just put everything into that, you know, a very addictive kind of a way. So I was that way with cigarettes. I was that way with food, and I was that way with alcohol. And I'm actually great. You know, the musical journey, having lived in Florida in the late 80s, I worked for a lot of bands, and some national level bands, you know, and at that time, I think it's no secret what was going on in the music industry in the late 80s. You know, there were a lot of very hard drugs.
Right.
And they were readily available, and they were essentially free, mostly. But I firsthand witnessed the effect of those things, the hard substances on people, and I didn't want that, so I never even tried it, which I'm thankful for, because given my personality with food, cigarettes, and alcohol, I'm sure that this story could, you know, be very different right now. Yeah, so never anything, you know, other than alcohol and cigarettes and food.
So going back to when you first performed, how long were you out of commission for after your surgery?
Not long at all. I think I had a good deal of, not horrible pain, but there was enough pain, and for about a week. And I think I had my first gig after surgery and sober entirely. My first sober gig was right before my surgery. And my next gig, my second sober gig, was probably 2 weeks after surgery. It's somewhere in there. Yeah.
So how did you feel going up on stage and singing, being sober? Because people do have a little drink, and we talk about this all the time on the show, that, you know, it just calms you down a little bit. Some people believe that it calms them down, and
Absolutely.
they just, you know, so how did you feel when you first went up on stage sober?
It's funny. I don't remember being nervous. It's been a long time since I've been very nervous in front of a lot of people, but that's the key. A lot of people. My second gig back, it wasn't very crowded, because we were just starting the COVID thing.
Right.
So we started to see crowds diminish exponentially, and that was one of the writings on the wall gigs that wow. There's a lot of people not wanting to come out.
So tell us, what's the work after surgery? Did you end up working out, or
That's another thank you COVID thing, is that all our gyms were closed. So my intention was to start going to the gym again. In fact, through the network that I had this surgery done, Care New England is what it is.
Mm-hmm.
They offer free nutritional services and also gym not far from my house, but they're closed, so I couldn't do any of that.
Mm-hmm.
So I didn't. I did a lot of walking, and I did whatever exercise I could do, just being more active. And that continues to this day. Gyms had started to open back up again, but before I can get back in, we're going to be in another pause in Rhode Island.
It's happening now. Yeah.
It's happening now. And, so the things that I'm doing on my own seem to have worked. The work that you have to do after this surgery is tremendous. And that's one of the things I'll tell you when you talk to people about, when people first see you, and especially in this situation, because of COVID, a lot of people did not see me for a long time. So it's, if they recognize me at all, which I've had that, and I have had that, where I say hi to somebody and they look at me like, who is this? And that's true.
I didn't even recognize you.
Yeah.
I can't.
It's crazy because to me, it's been gradual, and I don't really, obviously I'm different, but it's still me, but,
right.
but other people, they don't see that. So, so getting back and seeing people, I actually came off my thought there for a second, but,
I probably interrupted you, Mike. I'm sorry.
No, I just tend to, my mind goes over here and over there. And I remember it now. I remember it now.
Mm-hmm.
When you do see people, once they finally recognize you, say, oh my God, you look so different. You've lost so much weight. How much weight have you lost? When you tell them that, they say, oh how did you do that? Especially during COVID.
Yeah.
The first thing you say is, well, I had weight loss surgery. And this is the reaction I get every single time. They'll go, oh, okay. As if that's it. You just go and you get surgery and you're done. And you just wind up looking, I'm almost half the weight I was now, today. I'm 192 pounds now. So it's 176 pounds from my heaviest I've lost. You can't get there that much weight with just weight loss surgery. My surgeon said, of course, this is an estimate, but she told me, she said, this is a tool. That's what this surgery is. It's a tool for you to reset,
sure.
Get yourself into healthy habits for your life. This will allow you to do that for a couple of reasons. Your intake is limited because of the severe restriction in the size of your stomach.
Mm-hmm.
The other thing is that the hormones that your stomach releases that trigger hunger in your brain are no longer being produced, and certainly not to that level. They will come back, but not to that level. So you have a window here. This is an opportunity. It's a tool. That's why you see oftentimes, and I feel so bad that I've known people that have had weight loss surgery and unfortunately have gained weight back.
That's right.
You have to develop these habits. So she told me that you can expect to lose between 80 and 100 pounds strictly because of surgery, and anything after that and maintaining it is all on you. And so I took that to heart, and I've done the same thing. It doesn't, variety in food doesn't bother me much anymore. I don't have a lot of variety, and that's okay. I did for 50 years. I ate anything and everything, and so I'm okay.
How does it feel when people say that to you, when they, you tell them that you had the surgery and they're like, oh, how does that make you feel?
I understand it. It is, I don't know what the right word is. It's not hurtful. It's not, it's very assumptive on their part. And I get why. I don't blame anybody for that. But I feel like my first thought is, do we have enough time here in this conversation for me to explain this? Do you know what I mean? Because I don't want them walking away from here saying, oh yeah. You saw Flanagan, well, he had surgery. That's how. I don't want anybody walking away from our conversations thinking that, because it is a lot of work, and anybody who's considering it needs to know that. They need to know that you can't just walk in, get surgery, and be good.
And it's very risky. There's a lot of risks, as well. You're putting your life on the line, with
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
but this is the best way. This was the best thing that you could have done because you have a little girl, you have a wife, you know, so I'm just so happy that this is all working out for you. And I'm going to keep you in my prayers because it is so brand new. So what is your, thank you, Mike. What is your intake every day? What's your breakfast, lunch, and dinner?
Well, my breakfast, I only have a protein shake. My diet now is high protein, and I limit myself to 50 carbs or less, although my wife will tell you it's actually 20 or less is probably what I do. 50 grams of carbs or less and 10 grams of sugar or less. So I eat a lot of chicken. I eat a lot of salads, but greens, just the greens. Green beans, things like that. And there's a company called, I don't know if I can mention them, but Quest, that makes high protein, basically ketogenic type foods, protein bars and things like that. And so that's basically it. I don't have a lot of variety in my diet. Some fruits that I can eat, some grapes, things like that. But yesterday was Thanksgiving, and around my table, my wife and daughter both laughed at my plate, you know. So,
do you ever feel like, do you feel satisfied in your life now that the cigarettes are gone and now that the alcohol's gone? Do you feel satisfied? And do you also feel yourself doing other things that you've never done before because you have all this time on your hands?
I think, yeah. One of the biggest things two of the biggest things that I've done that I can't necessarily entirely attribute to weight loss surgery or being smaller, maybe a little bit of it, but because we're in COVID too. So I obviously I have a lot less performing. I've been working from home. In fact, right here, this is my office, right? And it's also where I rehearse music. I've been working from here for a couple of years, so there's no difference there. But I can't go anywhere. You can't do much. So is it a result of my surgery or the fact that, you know, we're under COVID? It's COVID time, you know?
Right.
I took up golf again, and I play a lot of golf.
I love golf.
Yeah, me too. But I hadn't played in so long because I was so big. I couldn't get around my body to play properly.
That's right.
So, it's entirely different now, and it's an entirely different game. It's a lot more fun, and I've played a lot more music as well too. So. And
what do you see when you look in the mirror now at yourself? Do you still see Big Mike, or?
No, no, I don't at all. In fact, this is funny thinking about this, this sort of thing before all of this. I think that I was sort of in the reverse because I would see myself in the mirror and I wouldn't see the person that I see in pictures. Do you know what I mean? Sure. Like I never thought I was that big until you're faced with the evidence of a picture or a video, you know, especially performing, especially being on stage, a video of yourself performing, and you're like, oh my God, am I that big? In the mirror, I never saw that. You can't, you know, obviously, I'm a big guy, but not like that, you know? And I can't say as though it caused me a lot of, you know, mental anguish or whatever before. It was just a surprising thing, like, wow, I'm that big. And now when I look in the mirror, I'm like, wow, where did I go?
Yeah. Do you have a lot of excess skin?
I do have excess skin. I don't have a reference for if or how much it is because I haven't seen anyone else. I know that there are pictures or whatever online. I could go research that. It doesn't bother me as much. It's not as bad as I thought or that I was told it would be. There is, I mean, you know, first of all, my neck, all of this in my neck, you could never see before. My neck used to be 23 inches and now it's 16 and a half. So all of this structure, you know, veins and, you know, all that you couldn't see, but I have a little bit of a, you know, this right here that I never had before, but.
That's liposuction, honey. You can get rid of that. That's what I had.
Yeah.
I'll give you my plastic surgeon.
What do they call this? A waddle? So there's a little waddle here, you know.
It's called a turkey neck. And
a turkey neck.
Yeah. And although I'm a thin woman,
you are.
It's hereditary and both of my parents had it. So I said, this needs to go because I felt very self-insecure. But actually, you look really good considering all the weight that you lost over here.
I had a very big face.
Yes.
Yeah.
Beautiful face, and you're always so kind and wonderful. I'm
Thank
just
you.
so happy for health-wise for you. And mentally, how do you feel?
I feel fantastic. And I think that probably my wife and daughter will tell you too. I'm not as don't get me wrong. I still, I'll still trip over something and get angry. Why is this here? Whatever. But I don't, I'm not as angry as I used to be at all. And I like that. But of course, my blood pressure is normal now, and all the medications that I used to have to take, they're all gone. So, I had high blood pressure. I was under a lot of stress. I was really big and fat. I would always sweat just getting up from bed and walking to the shower. I would sweat, and so I'm a different person for sure. In that way, anger is diminished for sure. I feel great. I'm in a good mood most of the time.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, it's everyday life that upsets us.
Absolutely. Sure.
That's so awesome. Do you do any meditation or anything to help you in that way?
Not necessarily meditation. No. In fact, I don't do anything. Nope.
Your music probably is very therapeutic.
That is therapeutic. It is. Yeah.
And
frustrating.
And frustrating at the same time.
Yeah.
And you were saying that after you quit smoking, your voice performing was way better.
Yeah, I went through a really tough period at the end of my smoking where I had a residency at a Hard Rock Cafe here in Connecticut.
Mm-hmm.
And we were there for 5 years, once a week, and there was toward the end of toward where it became obvious that I've really got to quit smoking, like now. I was having an incredibly hard time singing. My voice is a high tenor. A lot of the material that we do is very, very high voiced.
Mm-hmm.
And I just couldn't get there. And everything was, it wasn't good. I couldn't breathe properly. And obviously breathing technique is very important for singing.
Of course.
And so it had to go. And as soon as I did, it came right back and was even better.
What's the name of your band?
There's an acoustic duo that we primarily do right now, and right now we're calling that Mike and Company Acoustic Showcase.
I love it. How long have you been singing for and performing?
I've been singing since I was a teenager, a long, long time. But I think that I've performed more in the last 10 years of my life with this particular situation that I have now than I ever have in the past. I've had bands, and we've done a lot of gigs and this and that, from everywhere, from Florida to back to here, but not as much as I have in the last 10 years. But I've been performing my whole, since I was a teenager.
I'm so happy for you, Mike. What's your message for people out there who want to get this surgery, but they're afraid and they're not ready yet?
I will say this. I don't want to be the person that says, hey, look, just shove aside all those concerns that you have. Just shove it aside because you're going to love it. You have to do this. I can't very well say that because it is a very personal decision. And it takes time. You have to get in the right frame of mind for you to have success with it. So that's what I would say. I would say if you are considering it, take everything everyone tells you, from your surgeon to the nutritionist, to the psychologist, to your primary care physician, and seek out how other people who have done it, and I'm happy to do that, I have done that, seek out other people who have done it and get their full story and get that in your head, because it's not, I'll give you for instance. I was talking to someone, a friend of mine, they're probably going to know who they are if they see this, which and I'm sorry. I'll say I'm sorry first. I won't mention any names. But they said, I see the success that you've had, basically. And I'm going to paraphrase all of this, right?
Mm-hmm.
You've had incredible success. I need this. I've been thinking about it for a long time. I've already been to my my doctor. I've already picked a surgeon, and I've started my nutritionist things. And I just can't wait. And so, what do you have to tell me about it? And I told this person everything that I had gone through, the frame of mind you have to be in. And I personally don't think that this person is actually ready to do it.
Sure.
Because of the comments made to me about food and the role that food plays in that particular person's life. You have to be fully committed to changing your relationship with food entirely. And that's a hard concept to grasp until you're doing it. Obviously, the diet industry is multi-billions of dollars a year for a reason, because most people, it's very difficult to get in that frame of mind and to have success doing it. So that's my message is, you might think you're ready. Let's talk about it again and again and again and make sure you're ready. Because one thing you don't want to do is go through it and then blow through it, is what I like to say. So you don't want to go through it and then not have changed any of your habits and ruin that opportunity and that tool that you've had. Because once you've done, that's it. You've done it. this
is ongoing for you. Every day is going to be work. I mean, just like anything else. Yeah, anything else. So this is not stopped for you. And I'm sure your daughter and your wife had a lot to do with your surgery. So what's your message for them?
Yeah. My wife and daughter, I'm grateful for them. And I think the number one message that I've had, and I have to continually say this, because I think it took probably a month or a month and a half for my wife to even eat in front of me once I had my surgery. She was very concerned that her eating normal foods or normal portions for a normal healthy person would upset me or would tempt me or whatever it is. And so it took a lot of convincing to get her to understand that it doesn't matter what she eats. It matters what I eat. And I'm not judging anyone else for what they eat. And I without having done this surgery, I don't think there's any chance I could maintain the diet that I have now. And so I guess I guess I'm grateful to them. And I also want them to know that they can be themselves in front of me without any issue at all. My daughter doesn't care. She'll grab a, but she's young. She can just grab a bag of chips and just, and that's fine. But,
right.
I'm grateful to them. They don't pressure me at all to, oh, come on, you want some pie, like yesterday. And I did want some pie, and I had some pie, that much. A
little bit, right.
And it was literally 2 bites, and that was it. But that's satisfying. That was good, and it didn't cause me any issue. So, yeah.
And like you said,
was that the message you were looking for? I
like that, because I want them to hear that. I want your family to hear that. And I'm awfully sorry about your sister, and I'm sure that played a role.
It did.
Yeah,
that was partially. Yeah, it did. I have two siblings. I have a brother and a sister who are both much younger than me. Mm-hmm. My sister was 8 years younger than me, and my brother is about 10 and a half years younger than me. And we were all very close. My brother and sister both lived in Florida. And so there is some distance between us. But in 2016, my sister was 39 years old. She was overweight. She'd struggled with her weight her entire life. She'd had 3 children, which caused her to gain even more weight. And she was under a lot of stress. She was trying to provide for her family. She was a full-time nurse, often taking double shifts so that she could provide. And so she wasn't healthy. And at 39 years old, she died in her sleep. She had a heart attack. They say she had arterial sclerosis, so a hardening of the arteries at 39 years old. And she also had a combining factor of fatty liver disease as well. And they were all obesity related, her issues. And I loved her, and we were very tight, and I miss her. And I wish that. I wish if I had done this sooner, that maybe would have helped her. I wish I could have helped her in any way. obviously. She was far too young.
Thank you so much for sharing your story with us. Once again, Michael is going to be in Preferred Health Magazine this winter's edition.
Thank
And
you.
Mike, can anybody find your band? Where can they find your band?
They could, if they wanted to. You can find it on Facebook at, I think there's a few things on Facebook, but one of the addresses is Mike and Mark, RI. So it's Mike and, not an ampersand, Mike and Mark, RI. There's also a band called Loudon Swain. That's like the character from the 80s movie. Loudon Swain was his name. Are you familiar with that movie?
No, I never saw it.
Vision Quest is the movie.
It sounds great.
Yeah, it's a high school wrestling movie, you know, coming of age kind of a thing. And the main character's name is Loudon Swain.
Oh, okay.
So that's the name of one project that we do. So yeah, if you want to check it out on Facebook, that's where you can find us.
Fantastic.
And if you're in Rhode Island, come and see us.
Yeah, totally. And do you have a website?
No website, no.
No website. Are you on Instagram?
I am not on Instagram.
Okay. We gotta get you on Instagram.
I'm limiting my social media. You know, it's just
I don't blame you.
Yeah.
I don't blame you one bit. Mike, thank you so much. Thank you.
Missy, it was great to see you. Thank you so much. I appreciate it.
Thank you.
Also, if they get in touch with me for the band, anybody wants to reach out to talk about weight loss surgery, I'd be happy to talk to them too.
Yes, thank you very much. Thank you for everything.
Good to see you.
Okay, bye. We are sitting here with Dr. Janine Giovanni. She is the Director of Bariatric Surgery for CARE New England, and she performed Mike's surgery. Our question to you is, who is the best candidate for this type of surgery? Mike had vertical sleeve gastrectomy.
Yes. Well, Billy, first of all, thank you so much for inviting me and giving me the opportunity to talk about something so near and dear to my heart. I think, the best candidate for surgery is somebody like Mike, a person who has struggled with obesity for many years, who has attempted diet and exercise programs, but unfortunately isn't meeting their health goals. Patients who are considering bariatric surgery have to meet criteria that were set by the NIH many years ago.
Mm-hmm.
And that criteria is based off of something called their BMI, or body mass index.
Right.
And the BMI has to be 40 or greater, or at least 35, and they have to have major medical issues. Often we see patients who've struggling with diabetes, heart disease, sleep apnea. More than that, kind of like Mike, somebody who's really motivated, has realistic expectations, they're ready and they're willing to change their lifestyle. I think they have to be in the state of mind that they have been facing a chronic disease and they've been struggling, and that first of all, surgery isn't going to be the easy way out. That surgery has the potential to change their life in such an amazing positive direction, but they've got to be ready as much physically as they are mentally for the change they're about to undergo.
Absolute. And how do they prepare themselves going into the surgery?
Yeah, I think, first and foremost, like any other major change in your life, is just educating yourself about what the possibilities are. And for most patients seeking bariatric surgery, it starts with some sort of educational seminar where they learn not only about their disease, but the different surgical options. And then setting up that initial consultation with a qualified surgeon. Mm-hmm. And then from there, if you decide that it's the right time and the right step, patients have to undergo some medical evaluations. But more importantly than the medical, I think, is really the psychological preparation. Understanding how your lifestyle, behavior, stress, emotions play into your obesity. Mm-hmm. And then the nutritional component is learning what is healthier eating. How are you going to incorporate better nutritional choices into your life so that you're not looking for that quick short-term weight loss? You're really striving for long-term results.
Absolutely. And I just want to share something with you that Mike had said. I had asked him about you because he's putting you all over his Facebook and he's just so proud to know you and everything that you've done for him. So he basically said she did not, I'm sorry, wait, hold on. So not only did she take care of me with my body physically, I had zero complications. She also took the time, care, and passion to make sure I understood what I was getting myself into. She listened, and she was right. She saved my life, and I am forever grateful. So thank you for, being so patient with your patients.
Thank you. I think Mike's being overly generous. This is part of, why we do what we do as healthcare workers. But, Mike has given me such a great gift too. I love to see not just the physical change that patients undergo, but how their life changes in so many other directions. I think a lot of the work is actually Mike did it, not me. He set out to really change his life. I think Mike's told you his story. He not only struggled since he was a kid, but like many of the patients we treat, his family struggled. He lost his dad early. He lost his sister early to obesity. Along with his weight, Mike had many of the common diseases of obesity that are deadly. And it wasn't me, it was Mike wanting to make a change. And he did the work, and he continues to do the work. It can't just be the surgery. It has to be everything else that goes with it to achieve that level of success that he's achieved. So I'm very proud of him.
It's nice when you have patients who cooperate. I watch, I don't know if I'm pretty sure you do, 600-Pound Life. Do you watch that?
I have occasionally.
Yeah, and that's got to be very frustrating for a doctor if you're doing all this work and you're putting your heart and soul into it, and then they just don't do the work, because it is a commitment, as Mike had said.
We always say bariatric surgery is a tool. Obesity is a chronic disease, and in order to treat chronic diseases, you've got to have a lot of different therapies, and you can't start picking and choosing what you're going to do. I make it clear to patients that choosing surgery doesn't mean giving up on diet and exercise and behavioral change. It's when you pair all of that together that your chance of being successful long-term is much greater.
So how easy is it to gain the weight back?
Well, I think it's really, for people who struggle with obesity, traditionally diet and exercise are just not enough. The majority of them have a history of kind of yo-yoing in their weight, that whatever they lose, they eventually find and more. And as their life goes on, these other diseases related to obesity start to happen to them. So although surgery isn't a cure for obesity, it is the most successful long-term tool that we have to offer. So it's estimated about 80% of people who have weight loss surgery will achieve very good long-term success. And with that isn't just seeing their weight reduced, but more importantly, seeing their diabetes go away, their chance of a heart attack greatly reduced, getting off of lots of medications they've been taking. And then I think the most important thing are like the non-scale measures of quality of life. Patients tell us the most amazing things, how they can now coach their kids in Little League, go on a plane ride and not have to wear a seatbelt extender, go to amusement parks. So it's all those things.
And tell us exactly what you're doing when you're doing this type of surgery, please.
Well, it depends on the surgery that patients have, but regardless of the type of weight loss surgery, we're always doing something to reduce the size of the stomach. So like Mike's procedure, where he had the vertical sleeve gastrectomy, we typically will take out about 60 to 80% of the stomach.
Wow.
And not only does that help patients eat less and get full quicker, but it turns out that the portion of the stomach we remove plays a role in the feelings of hunger. There's a chemical called ghrelin that drives our hunger, drives our cravings, and that by taking that piece of stomach out, patients often are not as hungry. They don't have the same cravings, and it can also affect their diabetes almost instantaneously. Other procedures like gastric bypass involve bypassing parts of the small intestine, so that helps so that patients don't absorb calories as well as they did before. But in patients who have gastric bypass, although they tend to have better weight loss, they also have to be more careful about vitamins so that they don't get nutritional deficiencies.
Right. So my question to you is, you're removing part of the stomach. Can it ever expand back?
Right. So that's something that people ask us quite commonly is, why aren't the surgeries perfect? How come people don't just keep all their weight off? Is it because your stomach stretches? Well, there's no doubt in the beginning, the stomach is definitely much stiffer when we do surgery, and that over time, the stomach can relax easier. And the analogy I'll tell patients, it's like putting a pair of your favorite jeans in the dryer. You take them out of the dryer, you put them on, and you think, boy, did they shrink? But as you wear them, those jeans loosen up. And it's not because the jeans are growing, the fabric is a little bit stretchier. And that's also what happens to the stomach. So it's rare that people are regaining weight because their stomachs are stretching back out. It's usually going back to those bad behaviors or poor food choices that lead to that weight regain.
And when will you not proceed with this surgery on a patient?
So in the United States, any bariatric surgeon has to adhere to the NIH guidelines, which look at the BMI criteria. But also really, our goal as bariatric surgeons is to see the long-term success. And we know that that can only come through patients who demonstrate behavior change, who are psychologically stable, and also have a commitment and a drive to making the necessary lifestyle changes.
And what are the side effects of the surgery?
I think more importantly is what are the side effects of obesity? I think those are well known and documented, that people who struggle with morbid obesity have upwards of 40% higher risk of premature death due to diabetes, heart disease, cancer. So, the common side effects of surgery are pretty much like those of other surgeries. The overall complication rate is under 4%. Things like bleeding, infection, blood clot. Lifetime, there's no doubt that patients who have these surgeries need to be monitored carefully for vitamin deficiencies and making sure that they're not getting off track. But I think the real message to people who've had this struggle with obesity is it's life-saving surgery.
Have you seen a difference with the COVID that we went through this whole year? Have people, I'm sure they gained a lot of weight, they're sitting at home eating. Yeah. You have a lot of patients like that came to you?
Yeah, there's no doubt, COVID has affected people in so many ways. Patients have definitely reported that being shut in, they've gained, as they say, the COVID-15. It's also made it difficult for people to access healthcare. They're afraid to access healthcare. In certain centers, like early on with COVID, in our hospital, many other hospitals throughout the United States, we had to shut down elective surgery. So that put a hold on a lot of people having the surgery. But then the catch-22 for a lot of people who are obese is we definitely saw higher rates of COVID in obese patients and worse outcomes.
Right, because of their underlying conditions, and they have most of them have diabetes.
Correct.
Wow. Thank you so much for this. I just want to share one more comment that he said. She was incredible. She didn't BS me, although he spelled out the whole word. She didn't BS me in any way. She made sure I understood that this was a tool and that if I did not work hard at it, nothing would change.
Yeah.
So thank you so much for everything that you do in helping people out and making a difference. Dr. Janine Giovanni is the Director of Bariatric Surgery for Care of New England in Rhode Island, one of my favorite states. I love it. Thank you so much, and we'll see you soon. Where can people find you? Are you on Instagram?
I am not on Instagram, but our hospital has a website at Care New England. So if people look up carenew-england.org/bariatric, we have a whole page about bariatric surgery and what we offer.
We'll put that on our website, and we thank you so much again.
Billy, I appreciate it too. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
If you have a vegan product, make your vegan claim official with the only accredited vegan trademark in the world. Visit www.beveg.com. That's www.beveg.com to apply now. Making a Difference is sponsored by Preferred Health Magazine. Please visit www.preferredhealthmagazine.com today and subscribe.